just before we introduce our next speaker, I just wanted to make the comment that getting as much reach out of your research is probably just as important as making it open access. And this is a really good example of combining the two tools, making it available, but then also letting people know that it's available. That's part of the way of increasing the scope and getting the stuff out there. So in a sense, the sale or the advertising of it is just as important. And especially now that social media tools are taking off at such a rate of knots and becoming quite popular. Even I have a Twitter account, and that's something, because I tend to not try to switch on the PC when I go home. I sort of crawl in a fetal position underneath the couch. But yeah, so thank you to Simon. Thank you for that. Okay. Our next speaker has just come back from overseas. He looks a bit weary now, so we better get him up here to speak before he goes out and mainlines some coffee. Martijn de Sterke is Professor in Physics, and he's also the Chief Investigator for the Centre for Ultra-High Bandwidth Devices for Optical Spectrums. Systems, sorry, I'm terribly sorry. But more importantly for us, he is also Editor-in-Chief of an open access journal, Optics Express, which I looked up yesterday just to see what the impact factor was on this journal, and it is high. It is real high. So,
and I will get back to that.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. We will get you going right now.
Okay.
There you go.
Thanks, Stan. So the reason I'm here is because I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Optics Express, and what I wanted to do in these 10 minutes or so is give you a flavor of how the journal works, how we've made it pretty high up. And I was asked to ask a couple of questions, so I'll put them at the end, and you can all use your clicker. Let me just see. Yes. So let me give you a little bit of background. So this is a journal in optics, which is a subfield of physics. Optics has its own ISI category, and there's about 78 journals in that category. So it's kind of mid-sized. It started in '97, and it was the first open access journal in the field of optics, certainly. I think also in physics, but I wouldn't be sure about that. And it is published by the Optical Society of America. It's one of these venerable, some would say stodgy organizations, which nonetheless took this leap into the unknown 15 years ago or so, starting an open access journal. And I'll tell you how the journal evolved since then. The key point, and of course, is that it is an open access journal, and every paper we publish can be read free without a subscription. I was, as it happens, in Indonesia 2 months ago or so, talking to colleagues. This was for business rather than for pleasure, and they all read the papers because they are free. And of course, if you have an access-only journal, you would like it to be conveniently available. So this is a web-only journal. It is not printed at all unless you download the PDF and print it yourself. Now, Optical Society of America may be a not-for-profit organization, but they still have to pay the bills. So if the money doesn't come from the libraries, it has to come from somebody else. And so the journal has mandatory publication charges, which are somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 per article, depending on the length. The short ones are 900 and something, and the large ones are 1,800 and something dollars. This is not kind of easy to get into. It is rigorously reviewed like any other journal, and it has a success rate or a rejection rate of about 50%. So about half the papers we get rejected, and the other half gets published. So just a little bit of where we are now and how we started. So it started in '97. It was pretty slow to take off. It was a bottom dweller, to use the language of earlier speakers, for 5, 6, 7 years. But then suddenly in the mid-2000s it took off for reasons that I will get back to later. But by now it is a really big journal. It is remarkable. We published 2,700 papers last year. It is the largest journal in my area. And if you go to the ISI database, you can rank all 8,000 plus journals in various orders, including the order of numbers of papers published. And in that order, out of 8,000 plus, we're number 12. So this is a large organization. There's about 100 editors involved in the whole thing, all of whom are volunteers, including myself. And if copying is the most sincere form of flattery, then we have been really successful, because many other publishers in my field and related fields have taken this up, including the OSA itself, who's started other journals who run along the similar lines. Nature, you may be aware of, started Nature Communications a while ago, open access journal, with mandatory publication charges, and the kind of Institute of Physics, which is a British outfit, American Physics Society, American Institute of Physics, have all started these open access journals and basically run along the same lines as Optics Express. Why has it succeeded, and why has this somewhat stodgy organizations, why did it start in '97? In spite of many people saying that it would never work and that it would bankrupt the whole outfit very soon. Well, there was an initial champion within the organization who was very, very vocal and very persuasive, obviously. And I think one of the successes is open access. I don't know about you, but I often work at home and I look at articles when I'm at home. And when I need an article about a particular subject, I go to Google and I look up photonic crystals and waveguides or whatever, and I find a couple of papers. Which paper are you going to download? The one in an open access journal, or the one where you have to go to the library, put in your code, try to remember which article it was, not being able to find it? No way I'm going to do that, unless I must. So I think naturally in those search engines, it's the open access papers that get preferentially read because it is convenient. Certainly that is how I operate, not as a journal editor, but as a researcher. So I think this is one of the reasons the open access journals are doing well, because it is convenient. Okay, and even when you are in your office and you look up a paper, you get the thing about from the library about that you're not going to do naughty things with the article, right? If you go to an open access journal, you don't have that question. It's one click less, and it's worth doing, I think. All right. We had a couple of other things done. It was quick to publish, right? We were the fastest in the business. No copy editing done. It just got through very, very quickly. And the reason we ultimately were successful is that some of the hot areas in physics or in optics realized that we were very fast and used us as our house journal, in essence. So all the papers in those hot areas came to us. We doubled in size every year for about 3 or 4 years, and we now seem to be in steady state. An attraction, of course, is this rigorous peer review, and initially it was multimedia capable. I mean, most journals are that now, but in '97, because it was web-based, that wasn't a unique thing. I should just go back and I forgot one of the points. Oh yes, so in optics in my field, the impact factor is the 5th highest, and it's only behind the Nature Photonics journal and a couple of review journals. But of all the regular journals, our impact factor is highest, and it's very popular in spite of these not negligible publication charges. So when I was invited to do this, I was asked to come up with a couple of questions. And so I actually thought about them. And so some of the things that I struggle with and wonder myself is, first of all, my area is really ARC. I don't know how the NH and MRC works, but the ARC doesn't let you use research funds for publication charges. And I believe they are in the process of changing that, but I'm not sure how they're going. So should funding agencies make funding available for mandatory open access rather than AO charges was my first question. I think that is yes, but then I would say that. I think this second question has already been answered, but there's going to be a third question, which is the more interesting one. Should University of Sydney? Oh, this should be. Sorry, this was before my morning coffee. Or University of Sydney Library advocate open access publishing. I think the fact that this meeting is held, I think the answer is yes. But then the interesting thing is the following, and I think that is where, I mean, put your money where your mouth is ultimately. Open access journals, I'm told, and I have meetings with librarians in the US often, the librarians like open access because the troops get papers without the library having to pay for it, right? Do you want more papers or fewer for the same amount of money? Well, I'll have more, thank you very much, right? So that is a no-brainer, they like it, okay? The question, I believe, the real question is that support moral support, or is that support really tangible? What would the library argue? Oh, well, we have this really spanky journal, which is evidently has a very high impact factor and it's very popular. I don't have to order other journals now. That means I have money in the kitty left. So I think the third question, and I think the most interesting one is, should the university or the University of Sydney Library, again, contribute to mandatory open access charges? And I don't see why not. I don't know what the budgetary situation is, but I think my impression is, and the first speaker referred to that, libraries are really being strangled by the commercial publishers, and I will not mention it, but you can, I'm sure you know who they are, right? And they are locked into large, they cannot pick a particular journal and that particular journal. They have to take all of them, and they're charged rather a lot of money for them, right? So the particular reason librarians like this, because this is like an open access is a means, these open access journals is a means to try to combat the commercial publishers. Indeed, Nature has started this open access journal. It's a commercial publisher. They don't do it because they are nice people, it's because it makes commercial sense. So should the library or the university more generally subsidize authors who wish to publish in such journal? Now, I'm aware of the fact that other fields do not have prominent open access journals. Why that is, we can discuss separately. And I think physics and optics in particular is quite unique there because it does have this very high impact, very high quality journal that happens to be open access, and therefore it's easy to publish there. Many other open access journals are indeed bottom dwellers. But if people are in a situation where this makes sense, does it make sense for the university or the library to subsidize it? That's what I wanted to say. Thanks.